Henry, Philomena, Uche, Gift.
Good evening,
Okay.
sir.
Good evening. Welcome. Yes,
Good
Olamide, welcome.
evening.
Good evening. Oh, good.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Yeah, now we are here. Okay, so let's, do a quick recap of our last session we had on Friday here. I want to hear your takeaway. Just one takeaway from each person, one key takeaway.
Okay, sorry, I didn't put up my hand. Okay, for me, I actually learned so much, but my key takeaway was quadrant analysis of time management, where we had to have a 4 squares and we impute some things there, important but not urgent, not important and not urgent, not important but urgent, important and urgent. I used to think that important and urgent are things that should be our topmost priorities. But I was meant to really understand in the last class that important but not urgent are things that you have to play around with, prioritize them, arrange them in sequential order. And you will not be working under a tense environment because you are not being pushed around for deliverables. So I took that out. It's a serious learning point for me. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that. All right. Well done. Let's hear from Siva then. Siva, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So Sister Philomena already mentioned my key takeaway, which is the time quadrant, because I failed the question last week, but I learned from it. So my second key takeaway is on the steps to become a facility manager. And what I really learned there is that it's not all about the degrees. If you can get a bachelor's degree, it's okay. And then the focus should be on getting certifications and maintaining your certifications. So if we could follow the 5 steps, we could become and remain a facility manager. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. So let's hear from more. At least 3 more to go. Key takeaways.
Okay, so I don't know how to find my hand.
Destiny, you want to speak?
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. So my key takeaway was budget. So you mentioned 2 different types of budget, which is operation and capital budget. You said something that capital budget is the one that the budget of one in a year, while operation budget is uh, day-to-day budget. That is what we need to do this particular day and each day. So that's my key takeaway, in which I didn't understand. So from the last class, I understand it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, so let's go next. All right. Yes, madam, go ahead. Your hand is up. Edith. Okay. I see two hands up. Let's start with Vera. Go ahead. Then Oluwashem Lauren. Edith, go ahead. Go ahead. Your hand is up. Speak now. Okay, let's hear from Shem Lauren.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My key takeaway was that as a facility manager, there are various job opportunities open to you in different sectors and engineering.
Yes, there are different jobs in different sectors. Is that network or you are done?
I'm done, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Network is good.
Edith, Elora, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, my takeaway from the last class, you talked about two different FM levels of operations, which are the operational level and the tactical level. So the operational level focuses on the day-to-day activity required to running smoothly and efficiently, while thank you.
Good. So there are actually three levels. The one that is above the tactical is the strategic level. And that's the one that looks at long-term directions and strategies. Okay, so there are three levels.
Okay.
Always note that.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Esther, go ahead, please.
My takeaway is the difference or differences between the FMC and the CC, that is a facility management company, and a client company. I learned that a facility management company is a service provider that specializes in managing facilities on behalf of clients, while the CC, that is a client company, is an organization that owns or occupies a facility and hires FMC to manage its physical space.
Thank you. Fantastic. Another name for this client company is demand organization. So if you read any book where you have demand organization, that's the same thing as the client company. Okay. All right. So let's get into today's lesson proper. Today we're looking at strategic facility planning. And in strategic facility planning, we are trying to take a look at the big picture of facility management, the high-level considerations. When I was, responding to one of your takeaways, I highlighted that there are three levels. The bottom is the operational, followed by the tactical, and then you have the strategic level. That strategic level is the level at which the facility management department or unit shows cohesion or alignment with a corporate organization. In essence, is the level at which you demonstrate that everything you do in facility management is to enable the organization to achieve its goals. And so in this session today, we're going to be discussing how we can become better at understanding our organization to that level, to that extent, that we can have the evidence that everything we do, every decision we make is geared towards helping the organization arrive at its no thinking, especially the kind of thinking that senior management makes before they make investments. You don't have any kind of considerations for why and how you do the things you do. Many facility managers have entered the field thinking that their job is that of maintaining buildings. And since their job is that of maintaining buildings, they don't need to be bothered about high-level things like why the organization even exists. I work for so whether I work for a manufacturing company or I work for a religious organization, or I work for an oil and gas company, or I work for a media house or a farming organization or whatever, right? Facility management is not the same for different companies. Facility management is not even the same for companies in the same industry. Every organization is created for a purpose to serve a certain customer base, and that customer base or that organization has to do things in a way that it achieves certain objectives that meets the needs of the customer base, that the customer base also provides or supplies the resources the organization needs. So if you are selling, people who are willing and able to pay for your services. If you are not able to meet their needs, they are not going to pay for your services. So in essence, your organization will not exist or will die or fizzle out if it does not meet the needs of its target customers. Now, the organization is trying to meet the needs of its target customers. The facility manager who is providing the basis for that, who is providing the basis for that, how would I put it, for that, or the resources, we are the one providing the resources, the impetus, the enabling environment to achieve that corporate goals. We must understand what the organization is trying to achieve. If we don't, everything we do will be wrong. So in today's session, I'm going to teach you how to basically elevate yourself to that of a business leader within your organization. Start thinking differently, start thinking in more advanced ways, so that every time you come to say, I want to do A, B, C, the management knows that that thing you want to do is going to feed into what they are trying to achieve, because you can make it clear, you can create the alignment, you can establish the alignment. And as such, anytime you now need a resource in terms of money to get things done, or supplies or anything, it becomes easy to hear approved, release funds, allow him do this and so on and so forth, because you are now reasoning like the bosses. They have what worries them and what bothers them, and how that vision that drives them needs some fire, some steam to roll it on. And anyone who is now posing as an impediment within the organization, you are now tagged enemy number one. So if you now are the one who understands what they are trying to achieve, and you can develop systems and processes to move the organization towards that direction, then yes, you are that star FM that can sit comfortably in the C-suites, in the executive table, or the boardroom, where decisions are being made regarding the organization's future. You'll be consulted because there's that understanding now that you know where we are going. You are not being handheld, you're not being carried along. You are now one of those who are carrying others along on that journey. Okay. And that cannot happen if you don't understand what the business is about. So that's the fundamental thing we want to cover in this class. So what is strategic facility planning? As a facility management department, organization, unit, or facility manager serving a small organization, you must envision your future by linking the purpose of your FM unit or department to the strategy of the overall organization, and then developing goals, objectives, and action plans to achieve that future. The FM that is invited to see our new head office and invited to take the keys so that he can go and clean it up and set up the furniture for others to come and work, has failed the strategic facility planning test. From this definition, the idea to have a new head office complex should come from the FM. Why? The FM understands where the organization is going and knows where a new head office complex will fit into in that plan. Understands the company's overall revenue structure and knows that we can, create a business case for funding to run a new business headquarters building. And then that FM is able to build the requirements of the organization. Right now you're in an organization where you are in 5 floors of a rented building, for example. There are 200 workers sitting at different places. And you can project that in the next 10 years, based on the growth of the last 5 years, this is where the organization is going to be. And as such, if you are going to look for a space, you will think about owning a space that will affect the balance sheet, for example, if that's a strategic objective that would affect the organization's borrowing credibility, if that's a strategic objective, attract employees who are looking for a permanent work environment where it doesn't look temporary as if it's going to close down the next day, and so on and so on. You want to also boost the image of the organization to the customers who patronize the organization as a stable organization. Therefore, we need to have our own head office. The FM makes that case because it has clearly defined its purpose as that of enabling the organization to achieve its strategic objective. So that's the whole idea. We want FMs to start thinking long-term, high-level, big picture. If I'm doing the day-to-day things that I do, buy diesel, clean the space, arrange furniture, pay for energy to the disco, pay Loma bills, and all of the things I do on a regular basis. Do I know why? Do I know what we're trying to get to in 3 to 5 years as an organization if we keep doing this? If I know what the gap is. I know exactly what I can change now to prepare my department and my organization for that future position. So long-term operational efficiency is born out of long-term thinking. Reduce costs through optimized spaces and assets management. I know exactly what kind of assets we have. I know how we can push them to use in certain spaces or ways. I know which ones we will need and when we will need to acquire them. And then occupant experience and productivity. I want my organization to be very successful. I'm pushing for the organization to be successful, to be productive. And that productivity is tied to the productivity of those who work in the organization. And those who work in the organization work in the spaces that I manage as a facility manager. So I can no longer treat the area of my management or the assets I have coverage over as mere assets. They are now tools for the organizational success through the productivity and well-being of the individuals who are using the spaces. And then I also know that there are risks related to regulatory non-compliance and sustainability issues. And I want to ensure that those risks are, mitigated or removed. I want to ensure compliance. And that leads me to have long-term planning for all the permits, all the licenses that I need to have in place and how to renew them and so on and so forth. So as an FM, it's essential to define clear objectives. I'm creating a long-term plan for my department, which I align with that of my organization. But I need to ensure that I know what I'm doing. So I create a clear mission and vision. What's my mission? What's my vision? First, before I create a mission and vision for my FM department, I need to first understand the mission and vision of my organization. So I internalize the mission and vision of my organization, and then I develop a matching mission and vision for my FM department that helps my team, that helps my my staff, my vendors, my critical stakeholders to understand their role in the achievement of the mission and vision of the organization. So quickly, what's the mission? What's the vision? A vision is a state in the future that we aspire to as an organization. So if I think about a state in the future that my organization aspires to, I will think about how facility management can support the organization in arriving at that state. Then I will now create a state in the future of my FM department based on a gap analysis of where we are now, what we can do compared to what we should be and what we can do as at the time the organization arrives at where it's getting to. That will be the FM vision. A state in the future, a destination. So the organization is getting somewhere. I need to take my department and my staff in line with that destination, but in view of what we are doing as FMs to help the mission get there. Then what then is a mission? A mission is how we get there. If the vision is that state, that destination, the mission becomes the journey. How are we supposed to be perceived? What are we going to be doing? And so on and so forth. Those are what makes the mission. The mission is what you wake up to every day. This is strategic. This is not the specific activity. It is the spirit behind the activities that you perform. Because you know where you are going to. This is how you behave and act and perform to get there. And then you talk about the goals and objectives. On that journey that we call the mission, there are milestones. These milestones are the strategic objectives and the goals. There are goals within every strategic objective, and those objectives lead into the mission that leads to the vision. And as we move in this direction, there will be resources, there will be efforts that need to be put in that need to be measured on an ongoing basis. And these are all part of the things I need to plan as a strategic facility manager. So you now put together a framework that takes you through the step-by-step approach to creating a strategic facility plan. That framework is what I call the big picture, something that helps you visualize the entirety of your organization, your role within the organization, and how your role helps the organization get to where it's going. Every organization exists because of its customers. Every organization has a strategic purpose, which is based on the needs and requirements of its customers. So that's the first level of strategy. And FMs must elevate themselves to that level where you understand why you are doing what you do. I had an encounter with some custodians in a church not too long ago. Some children basically were having fun, playing and running around the place. And one of the cleaners picked up a mop stick and chased after them and said, "Don't step on this, you're messing up where I've cleaned." And this custodian was really, really livid, like these children were creating a mess for him. And then I, intervened and said, What are you doing here? Said, I'm cleaning. Okay. You are cleaning this space and you are paid, you earn a living from cleaning. He says, yes. Do you know why you are cleaning this space? He was looking at me. I said, look at those children that you're just chasing around. They are the reason you have a job. If they don't run around and create a mess, nobody will hire you. If it were not for them who will come into this building, nobody will build this edifice. So you need to rethink why you do the jobs that you do. You're not mopping the floor because the floor needs mopping. No. You're not mopping the floor because that is your job. No. You are mopping the floor because an organization has targeted some customers or audience, and because that audience is now here, the organization is now able to build this from collections from that audience. And then that organization had now seen the need to make sure this place is beautified and kept clean for these customers to use. If you come to work as a facility manager, your first consideration should be look way up to the people who are making sure this organization exists. The reason for the setting up of this facility in the first place was to meet their needs. That's strategic purpose. It is the highest level of consideration. If you fully understand it for your organization, you are on your way to the top. For most organizations, they will now use that knowledge at the management level, at the top management level, to create what we call the strategic planning. This is the corporate strategy for the organization. What type of customers we are going to attract, how are we going to be perceived, what kind of premium are you going to charge, what kind of goals are we going to strive for, objectives or strategic objectives we are going to aspire to. They decide all that, and then they put plans in place. And these plans will include hiring people, creating departments, creating processes, procedures to implement the plan. So if you get down to the business unit strategic planning level, this is where, who are those going to bring the revenue or going to get the customers to come? Business development. They create their own strategic plan. Who are those going to create the products? For operations, manufacturing, whatever department, they create their own strategic plan. Who are those going to steer the ship, provide the spaces and services to keep everybody, moving towards the direction of our goals? The facility management department or business unit. We have to create our own strategic facility plan. What does our strategic facility plan look like in facility management? It's made up of two key outputs. One of them is called the strategic facility plan itself, SFP. And then the other one is called the real estate master plan. The strategic facility plan, I'm going to show you as we move on, the breakdown of what makes it up, but I can give you a clear distinction between the two right now. The strategic facility plan is created for the entire organization. It is like the guidebook of real estate for the organization. What kind of facilities are we going to need? What kind of locations are they going to be in? What kind of strategic goals are we going to achieve with our facilities in terms of aesthetics, reputation, occupant comfort, energy efficiency, sustainability, and so on and so forth? We set all that up as an organization. So if you are at the level of strategic planning in the organization, you'll be making decisions that's going to affect future decisions regarding how we build, rent, or acquire spaces for the organization. So that you see a structure, you see a pattern. Anybody coming in tomorrow is able to follow the pattern. If you say, oh, we have 5 branches in Lagos and it looks like we're getting more customers coming from Akure or Abeokuta, let's go set up a branch in Akure or Abeokuta. We're not just going to go there and feel like setting it up beside a cemetery or in the bush. No. We're going to look at our strategic facility plan and absorb all the knowledge that has been distilled in there and use that to craft a second level of planning, which we call the real estate master plan, which is site specific. I pick a site based on criteria I've looked at in the strategic facility plan. And then these are the kind of structures I can build. These are the kind of capacities I can provide for. These are the kind of zoning areas I can locate the building. This is whether I should rent or I should lease or I should buy land and build or buy an existing building. All of those, I pick those decisions from the strategic facility plan. But when I now get to where I have now located my facility, I need to have a long-term plan for that site. That's what we call the real estate master plan. It is site specific. It is your site plan. Whereas your strategic facility plan is your portfolio plan. It is for the whole organization. So as the organization spreads and have more and more facilities located, in different spaces or places across the region, across the country, across the world, the strategic facility plan can be modified to, improve or enhance those decision-making process. But every site that you locate must have its own strategic plan, which is the real estate master plan for that site. Now, in terms of the relationship between the FM department and all the other departments, while other departments have to look up, understand what's happening at the corporate strategic level, take all of those and find a way to break it down to how they would implement it and contribute to the success of the corporate strategy. The FM department is a unique department. You not only look up and understand how the corporate strategy is going to be implemented, you are the one that is going to also enable all the other business units to play the role they have defined for themselves as contributions to the corporate strategy. In essence, you are now the master player of strategy. How? You are the one that must understand the corporate strategy, and you must also understand and imbibe the strategy of the business units that you serve. Because you cannot serve the corporate requirements in isolation. All the business units are all feeding into corporate achievement of corporate goals. You are now the enabler of all the business units, just like you are the enabler of the corporate strategy. So that's what makes FM unique. We have what I call the double alignment. Our strategic plans must align with corporate strategic plans and must also align with business units like us. We are not like them per se. We are not here to rub shoulders. We are here to serve the business units. So if they have any strategic objective, it's our job to know what it is. It's our job to provide the enabling environment for them to achieve that strategic objectives. By the time you get to the tactical planning level, you already know why you are doing what you are doing. The tactical planning level is where you decide what you will do. What projects will I build? Should I renovate the space? Should I buy a new place? Should I rent a new place? That's all the things you are doing at tactical planning level. Now, every plan you bring up in the tactical planning level must have a reason, an anchor to strategic planning. That's why when you do a business case to get approval to replace interlocking tiles, to replace street lights in your estates, or to install an energy efficiency system that provides monitoring for all the facilities in your estate or your property. You are not doing those because you just feel like anymore. You are fully aware of corporate strategy and direction. you have created business unit strategy and direction, and all this what you will build out in terms of projects, contracts, operations you're going to put in place are all going to be because you want to achieve that, because you want to achieve this, because you want to achieve that up there. And every time you have senior management approval for by the time you get to actually delivering the various projects and contracts you need to put in place, and you can present that pre-approved strategy or strategic goal or objective as the reason you want to do this, it is easier to get approved. Many FMs struggle at the tactical level. They are bringing up all kinds of ideas. They watch YouTube and say, this is fantastic. I saw it's been done in China, in Hong Kong, in America. You throw all those ideas up, and management like, we don't have money to waste on those things. How sure are you that you can deliver this? Why do you think we need this? The more of those questions that are coming is because you have not aligned your tactical plans and projects to strategic plans that have been approved, that have been seen to be aligned with that of the corporates and pre-approved. Once those anchors are established, even if you say you want to install CCTVs, you want to install IoT sensors that count people in and out, you want to put a software in place, nobody will ask questions. They will just be, okay, you're on course. Is this the time for it? And so on and so forth. You get it done. Your tactical planning includes your operations plans, what you are going to do in terms of the various activities you are going to put in place, the contracts you are going to have in place. It includes your maintenance program. So you have a schedule, you have a maintenance strategy set up for every asset. It includes the budgets. Like we discussed last time, you have the operational budget and the capital budgets. It includes all the different projects you have lined up. We're going to repaint to improve our reputation. We're going to install leak detection to reduce the damage to our assets from plumbing leaks and so on. Those are projects. The design and the plans, bill of quantities for these projects, you deliver them at the tactical planning level. By the time you get to the execution level, you already have a plan. It's based on the things you've decided in the tactical planning level. You now create your security bid plan, your operations and inspections, your maintenance, your schedule this, schedule that, put in resources, people to work in different places, you put HR policies, performance management reporting systems, and so on and so forth. These are execution. Execution answers to how. Now I've established why from 3 levels of strategy. I've established what at the tactical level, and then I'm establishing how at the execution level. This is the one we also call the operational level, the day-to-day activities. Now, this level will not be complete if all I do is just act out and act out without generating reports, without developing analysis that helps me trend whether the things I am doing is giving me the results that are feeding into what and why. Because at the operational level, you can just be drifting, doing things on a daily basis, completely disconnected with what you have planned at the tactical level, and even more disconnected from what you have planned at the strategic level, if you even have those plans in place. So if you have those plans in place, you must, at the operational execution level, ensure that you are measuring performance through data, trending those data and analyzing them to see how they are supporting the achievement of higher level decisions that you have made. And then with that data, you are going to, in the feedback level, compare what you are seeing as your results with what you set out to achieve at previous levels. So go back to tactical level again and say, am I contributing to these plans? How are they giving me the results? Go back to strategic level and ask, Is my tactical plans that I'm implementing using my execution, are they feeding into the strategy as I promised or as I hoped? So you keep doing those analysis on an ongoing basis. So this is, in a way, the secrets of why many FMs remain on the shop floor and very, very little, don't get promoted, don't get paid so much, because they've not been able to elevate the facility management to the level of strategic planning. They do things every day according to reactive approach. People just ask for things, you get it done. No matter how good you are at reacting, if you don't get back to the ability to set standards of planning at higher level, so you can have higher level analysis, you won't be able to contribute in a way that will bring you to the table. Everybody in every workplace are in either of two places. You are either on the table is where decisions are being made. Imagine a dinner table. Those sitting on the table are devouring something on the table. That's the menu. So if you want to stay on the menu, where you are always being devoured, where people are always taking decisions about your work, moving you around, not receiving any sensible comments from you, except how you can just deliver your day-to-day and you move on. You see instructions always coming to steer you here, steer you there, and you'll be left there on the menu. But if you want to jump out of that menu and take a seat on the table, strategic planning is your best bet. What this does is, and how do you get from the menu to the table, is that you have started working on higher level analysis. Data, you retook your reporting to find out, what can I start reporting on that can help me generate the data to analyze in order to bring about bigger changes in my workplace. How can I solve problems that have not happened yet? Our company is going to grow by so and so number or so and so percentage based on what I have mapped, because I'm the one giving everybody 6 to 6. So I know how many people we were in 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, and now, right? So how am I going to make sure that as we're growing like this, in the next 5 to 10 years, this is what our numbers are going to look like? And because our numbers are going to look like this in this number of years, what is going to be the constraints? Is it space? Is it services? Is it utilities? Is it the comfort and productivity of people? Is it the risk of outbreak and health issues or illness, and so on and so forth? Is it going to be a challenge of getting the best candidates in the profession to work for our organization? What can we do to attract the best candidates to accept offers to work in our organization, and so on and so forth? These are the kind of things I'm thinking of. And because I'm thinking of these, I am making more long-term plans and using the decisions from my long-term plan to affect how I do the things on a day-to-day basis. So I become better at taking decisions. Most times, if I make recommendations, management will see it as a proper recommendation. Okay? I would ensure a structured decision-making process for all facility management investments. Organization will reduce costs and improve operational efficiency, and it will support sustainability, compliance, and risk management, as well as aligning facility management with organizational growth and transformation. So this is the process. I must first understand my organization. Then I generate certain business analysis, and then I create some plans, and then I act out those plans. I'm going to talk about all of this bit by bit, but it suffices to say at this point that understanding the organization's mission, vision, values, and goals is key to starting this process. I cannot stay in the basement and not understand what my organization is churning out. Annual reports, information on its website. I'm not absorbing those information. How decisions are being made. I'm not even having any counts for head counts. How many people even sit in my building? I'm the one managing all the space, but I can't tell how many people are in which floor, whether they are male or female, age demographics, and so on and so forth. I must understand all of those things, including financial performance, customer knowledge, internal business processes, learning and growth. And then I should be able to create simple analysis like scan, scenario planning, SWOT analysis. I'll talk about a few of these because these are things that can help me internalize my understanding of my organization. What are we good at compared to what our competitors are better at, right? What kind of customers are we attracting? What's our revenue profile? How do we get money as an organization? It doesn't help for you to manage a school and not know that when people are resuming school is when they pay school fees, that's when there's money. So if you now plan your budget in such a way that you do not have need for money when there is money, and then you now have need for money when the money is spent out, you'll be sorry. That's just the facts. So let's talk a bit about the understanding phase. First, understand the facilities that you have. Basically, your asset register. How many buildings? What size of buildings? What are their location? What are the spaces in each building? Who sits in each spaces? That's basically the first step. And then, is it owned? Is it leased? The business unit that use each of those spaces, department that are using them, what are their own objectives, their goals? I can predict future headcounts. Not people that will be in this facility or in this organization in the next 5 years, just by looking at what has happened in the last 5 years. Of course, I will not be perfect because all I'm doing in planning is doing a lot of estimations. But as I do these estimations, I won't do it in isolation. If I estimate that the IT team have grown from 5 to 10 in 5 years, and I'm trying to use that to estimate that it will grow from 10 to 20 in another 10 years. That is, only my way of using analytical data from the past to project map into the future. But when I go to the IT head to say, I'm projecting that you'll be 20 in 10 years based on the growth of 5 to 10 in the last 5 years. And based on that, these are my plans, and I want to have your input. If your estimation of the future to that business unit head is not in line, of course, you don't know everything. You're just using projection from behind, right? He can now correct you, he can now tell you, say, oh, no. We intend to deploy AI. In the next 5 years, our numbers will not increase from this 10. In the next 10 years, we may even drop from 10 to 7 because certain things are going to be automated and remotely done. So when some of our staff retire and leave, we will not be replacing them. We're going to provide so training to train the others who are on ground to know how to work with new systems in a few years' time. You see how that information comes to me? It doesn't come to me because I went to say, hey, what are you guys going to do in the next 5, 10 years? No. I come with, this is what I have permutated. This is what I've looked around, and this is what I can create as a scenario for your future. And this is what my plans are for you. And that's when you see that input coming to refine it, coming to steer you aright, coming to give you a proper green light. Now, if you create a plan for a department and you go for budget defense, and of course, somebody in that department is there, all the board or directors are in that meeting. If they see their hand, if they see their mind in your plan and your budget, they will be the one defending it for you. You will not be the one defending it. And then there's scenario planning, where you create simulations of potential best, and worst case scenarios for different occurrences or outcomes, most likely worst case and best case. And you use that to create alternative plans. That's the whole idea of scenario planning, not for you to play devil's advocate and not have a plan in case the worst things happen, or play optimist who expects the best, and then you don't even have a plan if the best actually happens. You know how it is when a good thing happens and people who receive the good thing don't know what to do with it. Imagine somebody who's not had a plan for what his life should look like, suddenly winning the lottery and winning $1 million in the lottery. It doesn't have a vision. It doesn't have anywhere. There's no scenario ever mapped out as to where the life will go to. The money becomes the deciding factor. So even with such a positive occurrence, they end up more gambling and alcohol and drugs and going to death before you even blink. And then you have systematic layout planning. This is where you put out data in spreadsheets and flowcharts. in tables. Any kind of data you can lay out for visibility is called systematic layout plan. For example, if you have a high-rise building and you have a sketch where you are putting floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and you have decided, oh, this floor is going to be occupied by this unit, and that floor is that unit, and that floor is that unit, and you have the number of people in each unit, and you're trying to balance it out, you're just doing that on a spreadsheet. And you're showing that the partners that should be close to each other are close to each other, the ones that should use up the space more optimally are using up the space more optimally. So many things come into this systematic layout planning. I said I want to talk about the SWOTs. Strengths are your internal positive features as an organization. Weaknesses are your internal negative features as an organization. The opportunities are your positive influences, things that affect you positively. And the threats are the things that affect you externally negatively. So if you know what your organization is strong at, what it is weak at, and then you look at the operating environment of the organization, you can tell what the opportunities and threats are. You can refine your plans to help the organization succeed. So by the time you come to planning, where you're documenting the objective, setting the gap analysis between where you are and where that objective should take you, and evaluating all the options to delivering the plan, you are already at the point. This is still creating everything in the spirit form. You are still trying to visualize, but everything must be laid out and documented and presented to management for approval. Your strategy plan is never valid, not yet valid, until it is approved by the right authorities within the organization. As soon as it is approved, you get to the point where you now start creating projects. These are not happening at the tactical level. Your strategy planning is all the way to planning. And then when you start acting, what you're going to do to enact and achieve those strategic plans, you are now doing it as a tactical plan. Am I going to create a new space, buy new equipment, reconfigure space, invest in that and this regarding my facility, create new contracts? I'm doing them at the acting stage. All right, so I'm going to give us a 5-minute break and we'll be right back. So please kindly put in the group chats that we are on a quick break for 5 minutes. Thank you. All right, welcome back. So what are your key deliverables from the strategic planning process? I need to confirm that you are still here.
Yes.
Yes, you are here.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I mentioned that there are at least, I mentioned 2 out of these 3 key deliverables from the strategic planning process. I mentioned the strategic facility plan and the real estate master plan. And then you have the annual facility plan. This is usually the budget, or we call it the tactical plan, right? These are the things you put in place on an annual basis, and they feed out of the master plan for each site. And the master plan feeds out of the strategic facility plan for the entire organization. So I create an organization's real estate portfolio strategic plan, which is my strategic facility plan. And then for each location or site that I manage for the organization, I create a master plan. These are both strategic documents. On an annual basis, I create a budget to implement certain projects for that site that helps me achieve the master plan for that site, knowing fully well the master plan itself already aligns to that of the strategic plan. So I put these items together just to give us a differentiation between what a strategic facility plan for the entire organization compared to a master plan for one site, maybe a headquarters site or a branch of the organization should look like. If I start from the master plan, the lower strategic plan, I'm looking at what an architect would typically call a site plan. how do I position the building? How many floors should I go? Who are those going to use these spaces? What are they going to be doing here? What kind of space should I create? How will I run traffic? How will I zone parking? How will I, even during the construction of these projects, do we want to build it all at once? Or can we phase it and build a first building or first floor and so on and so forth? All of these are considerations I'm making at the master plan level. It is for one site. So if I have multiple sites, I will have to have a master plan for each site in the organization's property portfolio. But for the entire organization, I will have only one strategic facility plan. It will capture a statement of facility objectives. Why do we have to build or buy or acquire facilities in this organization? What are we really trying to do with facilities? This is where the organization can decide that, you know what, we're going to own every of our buildings because of XYZ reasons. Or we're not going to own any physical property. We're going to have pay-as-you-go usage for all facilities we're going to adopt and so on and so forth. High-level considerations are made here. Risk analysis of options, sustainability analysis, sources and uses of funds, operating expense analysis, return on investment, all those financial metrics, net present value, return rate of return, payback period. You'll be looking at most of those financial stuff during the finance, business and finance class. And then, you know, the kind of cost ratios that will determine what kind of buildings we build at different locations. And so that's what you have in strategic facility plan. So I call that the real estate Bible, the cover strategy documentation for everything related to facility management. While the master plan is all about one location, one site. Okay, so from all I've said so far, you can tell the difference now between strategic planning versus tactical planning. In terms of time frames, strategic planning is longer than tactical planning. In terms of conceptualization, strategic planning answers more to why we do the things we do, higher level considerations. Tactical planning answers more to what we do, okay? And there must be an alignment between the two. You create strategic plans and you build a tactical plan out of it. You come up with a project, you know, a strategic goal to reduce energy costs by 20% over 5 years. It requires a tactical plan to upgrade HVAC system, the air conditioning system, implement smart lighting, and train staff on energy saving behaviors. So I'm creating three items, three tactical plans out of one strategic goal. Strategic goal is 20% energy reduction or energy efficiency. Okay, so I scope one project for air conditioning system upgrades, another project for smart lighting, energy efficient lighting, and then another project for tactical plan for training. You see how it works. So that's how we connect all of them together. Your facility, every facility we build, every facility we construct or buy or whatever goes through the same life cycle. Every building will go through this life cycle. The planning stage is when we conceive what we're going to build or buy, then the design, construction, testing, commissioning, handover, and facility management. What we have seen is that, and this is everything that's wrong with the industry right now, is that planning is done mostly by the owner. Sometimes financial planners are involved. This is a business decision to invest in property, whether to expand what we had or to build something new. That decision is followed by some kind of high-level, estimates. It's also followed by some kind of idea of what it should be. big high-rise, a sprawling campus, a small building, an iconic building, whatever it is, the idea is at that planning stage. The details are not there. So that generates what we may call a brief that is given to an architect. So the designer receives that brief, discusses it with the owners, the financiers, and all that, and then starts working on design. So the architects and the engineers, they come together to work on the design. From the design stage, we have design drawing that's produced. We have a design drawing includes architectural and electrical, mechanical, plumbing, all kinds of drawings. It includes bills of quantities produced by quantity surveyors from this stage as well. It includes contract documents. It includes contract documents produced by the QS and the other commercial people involved in drafting the contracts. And then if there's going to be a bidding and all that, it goes through that round, and then the contract is born, construction starts. So that's the next stage. All right. During construction, the drawings, the bills of quantities, the contract specifications, and all of that are being translated into a living structure by builders, basically, right? And during this phase, they produce the deliverable, they produce all the variations and changes as they're executing, come up with a new set of drawings, which we call the as-built drawings. Okay. Now, the as-built drawings also includes the as-built bills of quantities and specifications of what was built, as well as operations and maintenance manuals that comes out of these, asset registers that comes out of this, and all of this documentation are supposed to be ready for the operations and maintenance team, which is the FM. But before then, we do testing. Testing is the process of confirming that they doing functional verification of the functional features. So air conditioning cools, water heater heats water, and so on. That's testing. And then you have parameters of those testing that are recorded. So documentation are generated from testing, just like the test results when you go for lab tests in the hospital or diagnostic center. Now, commissioning is not a cutting of ribbon. Commissioning is a verification of adequacy of what has been built. I can test an air conditioning system. It is cooling. It is running at the right amperage and the right current that it should be running with, right, and voltage and all that. But if the space it is cooling is supposed to be for a certain function or purpose for a certain number of people, is that air conditioning actually meeting the requirements of what is intended for? That's commissioning. So commissioning cannot be done in isolation of loading. It's actual loading or simulated loading that we can use to commission any facility. So if I'm commissioning a generator, for example, and the facility is not fully occupied to load the generator to the level where I can get the kind of commissioning data to confirm that the generator is adequate, then I'll have to use a load bank to simulate that amount of load on the generator and run it consistently for a certain period of time to give me that confidence that the generator is suitable, adequate. That's what commissioning is about. So you're commissioning a stairwell, you're commissioning a borehole water system, you're commissioning whatever. You must load them and use them to produce to capacity, and then record your observations and findings. At the point of handover, you're not handing over just keys. You're handing over documents generated all the way from planning. The brief contains the original objectives, the design that had some modifications, all those bills of quantities, the as-built revision to those documentation, all of them stacked with your testing documentation and your commissioning documentation. They are all what is, including the licenses and permits Loma license, disco connection, diesel tank licenses, and so on. All of them are added together, including your, certificate of fitness to occupy the space, or sewage certificate, or fire certificate, or elevator certificate of fitness after the audit by the right authorities. All of these things are added to that bundle, arranged and handed over. And I also told you that during the construction phase, operations and maintenance manuals and asset registers are supposed to be developed, all handed over to facility management. But even though facility management is supposed to receive all of this, where the custodian, all these documentations are supposed to come to us at the end so that we can know what we want to manage and we can know how to manage it. Because, to be honest, facility management is not about technical expertise on how to decide how block work should be built, how concrete should be casted. That's a builder's job. Our own is to understand the specifications they are trying to build to, and to receive the documentation of what has been built, as well as the instructions on how to maintain those facilities. And then we begin to run it as not just a business, but also as people who are the custodians of the individuals and the businesses that are using the place. Because we are coming from the standpoint of the organization and the people that are using the facility, ensuring that the facility can meet their needs. That's our primary function. Ensuring that the facility is not going to hurt or impede their progress or success in life. That's our primary function. So the first thing we'll do is receive all those documentation and then verify them using facility condition assessments and audits. But we play a role at every stage. And that will form the basis of another lesson we're going to be covering in the in this course. Facility managers are not supposed to wait until that last minute and expect everything to be dropped on your lap. There are so many things the FM should be involved in from the planning stage, deciding what needs to be built. Based on what I've just analyzed now in strategic facility planning, the FM needs to be on that table deciding what needs to be built, where it needs to be built, and how much or how big a space should be provided. So in essence, we are talking about operational readiness, the idea that facilities are supposed to be taught well in advance. Everything that should go into its operations and maintenance figured out as part of the requirements during design, planning, design, and all. You will no longer have buildings that are built without FM inputs, and which leads to not having the right requirements to manage it. Cleaners are in large-scale commercial facilities today in the country. They don't even have a place to keep their tools. They don't have a place to change. They don't have, any provision. Security guards, a gate is provided for them to stand and open the gates and close the gates. But nobody cares to ask whether security guards actually use toilets, or they will need drinking water, or they will need some kind of convenience to do their jobs, and so on and so forth. And you see many dysfunctional facilities, because the builders only cared about what the occupant told them they needed from the brief. They didn't consult the FM to ask, okay, so to manage this kind of edifice, what will be the requirements? Some facilities are built and you hire like 50 to 100 workers to manage the place, from gardeners to cleaners to security maintenance crews, facility managers, accountants, nurses, and so on and so forth. And you put all of this, you didn't consider how this work will be done. And that's one thing that we want to work against. So the operational readiness program in its entirety, including the various documentations, are going to be covered in the design, build, commissioning class. We just give you a teaser here. So look through this list and ask yourself, how many of this type of documentation have you encountered from any facility that you have handled or managed? And if you were to have all of these documents listed here, how easy would your work be? Usually, I'll tell you for free. Most builders, construction companies, they don't care so much about you. Even the consultants and architects, project people, they're all about delivering it, having it painted, flushing and testing pipes and taps and lights, everything works, and they are off to their next project. They really don't experience, the history of properties, even the ones that they built and designed. They don't really experience it. So it really doesn't gel when, when you start bringing things like this to them. So if you are involved, if you're part of that process, you will be the one bringing these requirements in. Oh, cleaners, okay, let's create a space for cleaners to stay here. Let's provide locks to these particular spaces for safety. Let's ensure these handrails are closer together in design. Let's ensure there's access here, access control there for this and that operational reasons. Let's ensure there's evacuation, extra doors for evacuation for safety reasons. Let's ensure that this kind of fire prevention mechanisms are built in, fire rated doors, just for safety, because it's high rise and we don't have too many stairwells people can come out from. Let's ensure there's an escape route at this point. Those things, we start talking about them because we are the only ones that clearly visualize when people are fully filled up the place. And we have experienced 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old buildings that are having all kinds of issues as they age. And we are now preparing for them in new ones. So we don't need to wait until concrete is set. And then we now have to start breaking. And, for example, I see many buildings where you see some very funny ramps. The government have come and put a stamp and say this place is not disability, not friendly to disabled people. They now see them come and forge one funny 45-degree ramp where they cut the step half and then on that cast slab on top of one side and they call it a ramp. Which wheelchair want to climb up at 45 degrees? It should rather just develop wings and fly. It just afterthought at that point. All of these things need to be sorted out, at the planning and design stage, and the FM's involvement will create such solutions. Okay, so that's our lesson for today. I saw that in the last couple of days, there have been so many questions about the assessment and all that. I think I saw so many explanations. I even did some explanation myself on the group. And I still saw something again this morning or yesterday about the assessments. I would like to know what questions you have. The person that put that last question, because I thought this matter has been resolved before now, about the assessments. It's always at the last page on your slides. And then when you finish answering it, all you need to do is put it on the tab, upload it, save it properly with your name and the course name assessments, so it can be identified when downloaded into a folder for general class. All right, so you can turn on your videos now. Let's have a quick conversation as I wrap up. Questions, comments, feedback. Whose hand is up first? I hope you're all taking notes. Okay, let's start for Yak now. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Please, my question goes this way. I've come to have this proper understanding that if you really want to be strategic, you need to ask questions like, what is the company or what's the organization goals maybe for the next 2-3 years?
Yeah.
So you as a professional, I want you to use a real-time scenario of how you use strategy plans to like achieving those, or how you use your strategic plans that aligns with the company goals to achieving some certain tasks.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so let me give you an example. While working on a strategic plan for one of my clients, I noticed that they had a lot of female employees. And over the 4 or 5 years I was with them, we're always having one wedding or the other, almost every month. And the organization was growing. They had 50-something employees. It grew to about 100 in 4 years. And they were already doing recruitments for more employees. They were going to have almost another 100 added to it. And they were in a rented facility. But the organization already has a goal to boost their balance sheet through fiscal assets. So the option to expand that facility does not include renting another space, because if you rent, it's not improving your balance sheet. So we have to look for a way to acquire a site. In deciding that site, what to put on the site, one of the key strategies that we had to deploy was a crèche. Why? Because we projected forward 5 years to 8 years down the line. All these owambe and jollof rice we're eating every Friday, every Saturday, we turn into babies. And when those babies start coming, these women will have to be closing by 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock to go home and breastfeed, isn't it? And come to work by 9 or 10, not the normal time everybody else comes. So the organization is going to lose a lot of productivity from this. So because the organization has a goal of workplace productivity, profitability, getting the best out of its workers, if we build a crèche and fund that crèche to have a carer, as these ladies start having babies, as the years go by, they will start coming to work early, leave the baby at the crèche, take break every 2 hours or so to go and check on the baby and come back to work. Many of them don't even mind working till 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, because the only thing that worries them is already with them, at work, and so on and so forth. So that kind of reasoning elevates you in that organization, because you have been able to make a case for that crèche using the numbers of females and using the age brackets they are in, and projecting the projected number of babies that will need those crèche in the next 5 to 10 years. So you get approval faster. Even going for a new head office complex, it's easy to say we are a rented facility. We should also go for another rented facility, right? But looking at the objective to boost balance sheets, which the nation had made a few years ago, if we own our own head office, it will be easy to use that to boost our balance sheet, because that's an asset that has valuation, right? So some of those things these are just a typical example. I've also been in an organization where they want to reduce wastage. They just set a goal to reduce operational wastage. Me, I know that we are corporate when it comes to wastage, especially on the side of energy. We waste a lot of energy. So by the time I come up with a project to put sensors to gather data on how energy is being used, and put automatic shutdown fuses everywhere where I can, from my phone, put off certain places where nobody is there and they shouldn't be on. Management will approve it because they know that I'm going to contribute to reducing wastage and so on and so forth. There's some organizations that I've been into where the goal has been to have data to show that we are a responsible organization on the environmental sustainability and governance aspect. Many organizations want to know exactly what is going on, but they don't have data. There's no system for gathering that data. Refuse is being taken out, but nobody weighs the refuse, so that we don't even know how many tons of refuse we're generating in a year. The refuse is not being separated for us to know the quantity that can be recycled, so that we can know how much percentage of our waste is being recycled. We don't have any system for collecting stormwater to know how much stormwater we are collecting and throwing it. We don't even have any system for measuring our sewage to know. So how can we have environmental sustainability credits? We cannot have any numbers to show that, oh, we are doing better in reducing our waste. We are doing better in reducing energy, reducing water consumption. I would tie a strategy of the organization to some of this. Take, for example, profitability. Some companies make a lot of money in terms of revenue. Turnover is very high, but the profit is very small, which means their expenses is also very high. If you look at that kind of goal, improve profitability, you ask yourself, in what ways can FM reduce costs so that profit can also increase, right? Then I look into my operations. Can we renegotiate our contracts? can we bring in new systems into play? For example, air conditioning system can consume a lot of energy. If I propose for us to replace our air conditioning system with new modern inverter systems that are using less than a quarter of the energy consumed by the energy guzzling one, I can make a case that in 4 years, 3 years, we'll repay for these new ones. Our energy consumption will drop. Our carbon footprint will also drop. With one project, I can make a case to support the organization's strategic goal in that area. So the first thing is to understand where the organization is going and what goals it's trying to achieve. Then start looking for ways you as an FM can come up with projects that can support that.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. So like I said, this is one sure way you can be elevated in your organization. You are no longer just the person who takes record of rolls of tissues in the store, and the liquid soap and the diesel level. You are now at a higher level now. You are now
Please, can I ask one more?
Yes, you can ask. You're now thinking more like the management staff already, even if you are not yet management staff. Your way to management staff is starting today. Go ahead.
Okay. So, okay, back then, I used to have this understanding that FM has to do it after the building has been built, and your duty is to go there, then do the normal management processes. But with the help of this class, I've come to understand more that FM can come in as in before planning and design. So I want you to like throw more light on how FM play a role in a design of a building.
Okay, let me go start from planning, give you a quick rundown. Who decides what should be built? The FM, PSC, is the one that observes the gap on what's on ground. He's the one that has projected the growth to say we will need something new, something bigger, right? That's one.
Yes.
Two, during design, the architects will ask the users, what do you need? The users will tell them what they need. The architects often do not ask the FM. The FM needs to now be proactive in meeting with the architect and say, to manage this facility you are designing, we will need to have provision for 50 cleaners, 20 gardeners. And this is the kind of spaces we need to provide for them. Water must get to the place where the gardeners will wash their tools. Water must get to the place where the cleaners will wash their tools. There must be proper ventilation there to dry their mop sticks. They must have a place where they can have their lunch or breakfast, away from circulation of people, because we don't want cleaners to be hanging around mall shop goers and hanging around office visitors. They have to have their own circulation, separate. So these are the kind of spaces we create for them. It is our job to be involved in that design process, in providing the guide to the designers who are doing the programming of spaces. We are the ones that also know the kind of spaces that different levels of people need in our organization. Some people in their position, they need 40 square meters, green carpets, sofa in the office. These guys, when they come, they need all this information from us, because there's a way you design and build. You will now end up with one GM by the window, the other GM by the wall, and that GM is angry. They will be fighting over who should take the GM's office, because he didn't provide enough GM office. Problem does start from there. So your input, is very important at every stage. During construction, for example, do you know that many builders and construction team members want to use the fastest shortcut, get it done and get out? So they might bury a drain pipe under tiles. They can run cable inside the wall. In one case I've seen today now, they put 10 wires inside a 20 mm conduit pipe. Those 10 wires became so cramped and so hot over time that one has now burnt all of them. They have now mottled up inside that pipe. Now you cannot retrieve them. You cannot do anything. 10 points are condemned because somebody just felt like he could squeeze it and form it. During construction, you have a lot of role to play. I've seen a situation where toilets that you flush every day is working fine. After 4 months, you flush it, toilet vex come back. You know, what's going on? You go and get K-rod, thinking it's K-rod, you start pushing K-rod. It's not K-rod though. The pipe ended inside sand in the garden, it didn't get to soak away. So all the flushing I've been doing, because the sand is soft, new construction side, the thing has just been going inside the pipe. The moisture is just sucking there. If you look outside, you see some grass that are greener than others. It's not excess. You are manuring that grass with your toilet until one day the thing will kick back and then you flush, you vex back. You think it's small problem. So you have to be there during, at least even if it's a weekly visit, pay attention to what's happening. Be documenting changes. You know, you have drawings like design drawing, but most of the time they will give you that drawing again as built drawing. They won't change it till they change. So you would think a pipe went like this. The pipe actually went like this, right? But if you are there, you will observe that change and you make a modification. So you have a perfect drawing of your own. So the FM should be involved at all stages, even with testing and commissioning. Even with testing and commissioning, you see some testing they are doing. They will just carry the owner and some people like a ceremony. They'll just on it. You see, it's working. You see, it's working. Nobody's documenting any proper parameters of that testing to have on file. The FM should insist, no, it is working. Leave that it's working matter. Please, this is the range of reading it should be. Bring your clamp meter, clamp it, read it. For most of you who take over buildings that have just been built, they will just walk you through it and dangle key for you. You say you have received the building. If you are not part of the process, you receive junk. Within 6 months, everything will come to choke you. And nobody remembers the builder. Everybody is about the incompetent facility manager. See this fine building, they just handed over to this guy. Look at how the guy run it down in less than 1 year.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, Philomena, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The point I will still make the point, but you have thrown light to that. Because in this, our own side of the world, people don't believe that FM are supposed to be part of the building process. They finish and it's like an afterthought. Now we have this edifice, how do we manage it? Let's get an FM to do this job. So by the time the building and all the mishap or whatever had been wrongly placed and handed over to an FM to manage, begin to see a lot of demands. And you know that it's already a foundational issue. It's not an issue that the FM had actually caused, but that the right thing was not done when it was supposed to be done. So it's here. And I just want to ask, if you have that kind of problem at hand, how do you now resolve it? Because you are really, I give a scenario. We have a facility that was completed and FM onboarded to manage. But we find out that a lot of the structures are defect. They have these defects. For instance, the POP cracked even before the building celebrated 1 year. And you see the POP dropping at people's head and all of that. The roof, there's so much leakage around the building, and you keep asking, why is it that this facility manager is always asking for repairs and all of that? This was not his problem. So how do you manage when you have that kind of inherited facility?
Okay, so if you need to be involved, you need to build your reputation to that level where they get you involved. That's what I was talking about, getting out of the menu into the table where decisions have been taken. And if you start doing strategic analysis, start creating long-term plans, not reacting in your operations and maintenance, you will be consulted. That's the first thing. And once they start consulting you for such things, they will bring you on board to be in the team. That's one. Two, if you are involved, make sure that while not being confrontational with the builders, you use diplomatic ways to chip in advice to them. And you need to have some level of technical understanding of building systems so that when they talk, you will not sound like a novice, because that's one thing that made them to write off the FM in that team. When you sound like a novice, you don't know anything about the angles that host POP. You don't know anything about the mesh or the fiber that goes into POP, right? Even if you don't know, do as if you're just asking questions. What are the things that can happen to these after a while? If this thing blocks, how is it going to be opened? Is there a place where we can inspect this chamber to see how this pipe is doing and to clean up this drain and so on? You don't be asking those kind of questions as you go. It's those questions that you're using to chip in advice to them. Now, if at the end of it, you were not there still, you will do what we call a facility condition assessment or facility audit, which is more like your advanced form of doing a snagging list. They will do a snagging list. Probably they will invite you in their snagging list, but you will do your own inspection. And you will insist on receiving certain basic documentation like the inspection, the testing documentation and the commissioning documentation. You get those from them. So if you're able to get those, then you now do your commission assessment. This assessment is for you to probe and check and test everything, such that as the building is being handed over to you, you've already picked up all these defects and you've created your repair work plan and presented it straight from day one. All of this needs to be redone. For example, they probably didn't do pressure testing as part of commissioning. In your commission assessment, you do pressure testing. You will get somebody to come up with a compressor and pressurize all the pipes to the ratings of that piping system and run it and go every room. And while that is running, go every room and use a handkerchief to check for leaks. You don't need to see water on the ground to know whether it's going to leak. At this stage, if my handkerchief that is dry is moist at all, that has failed pressure testing. So I'll go joint to joint to joint to joint and test all of it. It's a lot of work, but I'll do it. I'll put on all the lights. I'll put on all the air conditioners. I'll carry a thermal imager. I'll go from breaker to breaker, fuse to fuse. After 1 or 2 hours, I'll go and check the temperature. Not with my hand though. There's a thermal imager, just like that one you to check for fever during Ebola. You go and scan each one by one and record the temperature reading that you are getting. All this information will be brought back. So anyone that the reading is too high, you will highlight it and say there's potential problem on that area. These areas are leaking. This piping needs to be redone. Now, if you create such a report and present it with cost of how to do it, they may not approve it immediately, but they will not be surprised later when 3 months, 6 months down the line, those things become a real problem because you pick them up early. It is when you did not do any of this and then you take it over and then they are now using it. Everyone say, it's okay, it's fine, it's working, it's working. 3 months, it's no longer working. Another 6 months, more breakdown. Then the FM is failing big time. Okay? Henry.
Thank you, sir. Well, for me, in the organization where I work, I think Mr. Rubabi knows my organization very well. The FM managers would always have time to do an inspection with the project managers at all times.
Yeah.
And if the FM manager is going to site, he goes with what we call a checklist to check if the building is meeting up to the standard of the organization. And if it doesn't, he marks it and gives a report immediately.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why I feel at the point of handing over, the FM needs to be there because he needs to know at every point where the DBs are, where the Ds are, where they can actually switch off when there's an emergency. So for me, I don't know if there's any organization in this world that goes for handing over without the FM being part of it. If this is the first time, I'm just hearing it for the first time. So I don't know if it works that way. But in my own organization, the FM goes at every visitation to the site to take note of what is happening. At the end of it, she gives a report to let them know these are some of the observations we have.
Henry, your organization is 1 in a million, so I think I think it's the only organization that I know that does what you just described. The other organization where I've done this is in the oil and gas industry, and they didn't have that as an internal process. They hired us as consultants to help them do this. So that's one of the things we sell as Max-Migold. We go to organization and say, look, you don't have this process in place for operational readiness. We can bring that to you as a service. We can be your consultants. And we've done this kind of consultancy for more than 5 different organizations so far. So in essence, it's something that we are trying to inculcate through advocacy so that developers and builders and owners will begin to involve FM in construction and delivery process. All right, so thank you, everyone. That is our lesson for today. I'll see you again on Wednesday for the next class. Philomena, you want to go up again for another one?
Yes, I just want a clarity, sir. I actually was supposed to be, I paid for both virtual and physical.
Yeah.
But I will not be, I will not, I was thinking all we do online is the same they do in the physical class.
Okay. Yes, that is the plan. Why we've had a bit of change is because while I do this training, I also have other programs that sometimes clash, especially for my own days. So if I have a major clash in my own program, I do some kind of adjustment, get another facilitator, take a physical. The class that I'm taking you, the class I'm taking you virtual now, they will still come on the physical class. You will not miss any of them in the physical. But just that there's a bit of a swap, just because I wouldn't be available. In fact, now, apart from last Saturday, that I had to be in a major training elsewhere, I don't think we're going to have that issue again. So I'll have to apologize for that. Whenever we're making those changes, we'll try to let you know. But sometimes, you know, human plans are inevitable to be adjusted. So sorry about that.
Okay, I have a heavy engagement on Wednesday. I will not be in class, so I'll be in the physical class on Saturday.
Super. You see me on Saturday. We'll deal with all our courses on Saturday. So welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy the day.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.